Chapter 12 of The Secret Garden, Just a Bit of Earth. When Mary ran into her playroom, Martha was waiting. "I've seen Dickon," Mary exclaimed. "He brought the garden set." Martha had never seen the girl so excited. She asked, "Where is your garden to be?" Mary couldn't tell her about the secret garden, so she said, "I haven't got one yet." Martha said, "If I were you, I'd talk to Ben Weatherstaff. He'll find a place for your garden." Mary ate her lunch hungrily so she could hurry back to the garden and Dickon, but when she finished, Martha had some important news. Mr. Craven had come home and asked to see his niece. "But why?" Mary asked. Her face grew pale. "He didn't want to see me before." "It's because of Mother," Martha said. "She saw him in Thwythe Village, and she spoke to him. He's leaving again tomorrow for Europe and won't be back till next fall." This made Mary feel better. If Mr. Craven went away, she'd have time to see the secret garden come alive. Mrs. Medlock opened the door in her best dress, looking a bit nervous. She told Mary to change her clothes and brush her hair. Then she took Mary to a part of the house she had never seen. They entered a large room where Mr. Craven was sitting in an armchair before the fire. He thanked Mrs. Medlock and dismissed her. Mary was surprised to see that he wasn't a hunchback, although he had crooked shoulders. "Come here," he said. Mary stood before him. He had dark eyes and black hair streaked with white. He wasn't ugly and could have been handsome if he didn't look so unhappy. "Are you well?" he asked. "Do the servants take good care of you?" "Yes," she answered. "You are very thin." "I'm getting fatter," Mary said in her stiff way. Mr. Craven rubbed his forehead. "I intended to get you a nursemaid or a governess." "Oh, please, no," Mary stammered. "I'm too big for a nurse, and don't make me have a governess yet." Mr. Craven looked away. To himself he said, "The Sowerby woman says she needs to get stronger before she has a governess." Mary heard the name and asked, "Is that Martha's mother?" "Yes," he replied. "Mrs. Sowerby said you should play outdoors and get sturdier." "She knows all about children," Mary said. "Yes, Mrs. Craven was very fond of her," he said. His voice softened when he mentioned his wife. "Now, tell me where you play." Mary gasped out, "Everywhere. I run and skip and I don't do any harm." "Don't look so frightened," he sounded worried. "You may do what you like. I'm your guardian, though a poor one for a child. I can't give you much attention, but I want you to be happy and comfortable. Is there anything you want? Toys? Books? Dolls?" Mary's voice trembled. She said softly, "Might I have a bit of earth?" Mr. Craven looked startled. "Earth? What do you mean?" "A place to plant seeds, make them grow, watch them come alive," Mary said. "When I was in India," she explained, "I was always too ill and it was too hot, but here it's different." Mr. Craven stood up and crossed the room. He seemed to be deep in thought. When he spoke to her again, his eyes looked soft and kind. "You can have as much earth as you want," he said. He remembered his wife's love of things that grew. "When you see a bit of earth you want," he smiled, "you may take it, child. Make it come alive." Then he rang the bell for Mrs. Medlock. Mr. Craven spoke to the housekeeper. "This child needs to be stronger before she begins to have lessons," he said. "Give her simple, healthy food. Let her run in the garden, but don't look after her too much." Mrs. Medlock looked relieved. Mary could be quite a handful. "Mrs. Sowerby is to come here sometimes, and Mary may visit the Sowerby's cottage." Back in Mary's room, Martha was waiting with a surprise. "I can have my garden," Mary cried happily. "Your mother can come to see me, and I can visit your cottage. Mr. Craven really is kind." Martha was as delighted as Mary. She helped her change into her play clothes, and Mary ran outside. She hoped Dickon would still be in the garden, but he had gone. His tools lay neatly under a tree. Only the robin remained. A piece of paper fastened to a thorn on a rosebush caught Mary's eye. It was the letter she had sent to Dickon. On the back was a drawing that looked like a bird's nest and some printed words. "I will come back."